Getting tired in tennis has very little to do with how fit you are, and I can prove it. Because the players who last the longest on court aren't always the ones who train the hardest off it. They're the ones who figured out 5 specific things about how energy actually works during a match. Things that most players are doing completely wrong every single time they step on court. And the wild part is that fixing these things doesn't require you to run more, or train more, or get stronger. It requires you to do less, smarter, more deliberately. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly where your energy is going and how to stop leaking it on things that have nothing to do with actually playing tennis. Let's get into it. 1. You're spending energy between points, not just during them. Here's a question most players never ask. Where does the fatigue actually come from? The obvious answer is the rallies, the sprinting, the swinging, the physical effort of competing for 2 or 3 hours. And yes, that costs energy, but it's not the whole story. Not even close. Watch a recreational player between points. They're pacing, they're talking to themselves. Their shoulders are still tight from the last rally. Their grip is still firm even though nothing is happening. Their jaw is clenched, their breathing is still elevated. And by the time the next point starts, they've never actually stopped working. The body has been burning energy continuously, not rally energy, but tension energy. And it adds up. Now watch a player who lasts all day on court. Between points, they look almost switched off. They walk at a normal pace. Their arms hang loose at their sides. Their face is relaxed. They're not narrating the last point in their head or projecting into the next one. They're just resting, actively resting. And then the point starts and they switch back on. That switch, fully off between points, fully on during them, is how the body manages energy over a long match. Your nervous system needs micro recoveries between every single point to reset for the next one. When you stay mentally and physically activated between points, you skip those recoveries, and the cumulative cost of skipping them over a full 3-set match is enormous. You arrive at the 4th game of the 3rd set not because you've played more tennis than you could handle, but because you've been tense and burning energy for 2 hours straight without ever actually resting. The fix is deliberate deactivation between every point. Loose arms, relaxed grip, slow breath. Walk at a pace that feels too slow. Let the face go soft. Give the body the 10 to 20 seconds it needs to actually recover before the next point asks it to work again. 2. Your breathing is wrong and you don't know it. This one is happening right now in almost every recreational player's game, and almost none of them are aware of it. Because it feels normal. It is not normal. During a rally, most players hold their breath. Not completely, but close to it. Breathing becomes shallow and irregular, and then they exhale randomly, sometimes after a winner, sometimes after an error, sometimes in between shots at a moment that has nothing to do with the physical demands of the game. The oxygen flow is inconsistent. The muscles are working without adequate supply, and the heart rate climbs faster and higher than it needs to. The professional players and the fittest recreational players exhale deliberately at contact on every shot. That grunt you hear, and not everyone grunts audibly, but the principle is the same, is a forced exhale timed exactly to the moment the racket meets the ball. Every swing, every shot, every contact, exhale. Here's what that does physiologically. It keeps the breathing cycle regular and rhythmic rather than held and random. It keeps the core muscles engaged through contact, which actually improves the shot quality as a side effect. And it keeps the heart rate lower over the course of a long rally because the body is getting oxygen on a predictable schedule rather than having to spike the heart rate to compensate for irregular breathing. Start with this in your next warm-up. Every single forehand, exhale audibly at contact. Every backhand, every volley. Get the habit locked in before you even start playing points. Within a few sessions, it becomes automatic, and the difference in how fresh you feel by the 3rd set from breathing correctly alone will surprise you. And if you want to take your tennis to the next level, check out the Tennis Master Pack. A pack that includes the Elite Player Guide with technical and tactical tips, the Become a Pro Guide where you'll learn how to become a pro tennis player, a full week fitness routine to take your fitness to the next level, and a prevention routine to prevent injuries and enhance recovery. This pack already helped hundreds of tennis players. Get your clicking on the link in the description. Let's continue with the video. 3. You're running more than you need to because your positioning is off. The players who look effortless on court are not necessarily fitter than everyone else. They're more economical, and the biggest source of that economy is where they stand after every shot. Most recreational players hit a ball and then recover to roughly the center of the baseline. That's the right idea in principle. But the center of the baseline is only the right place to recover to if the ball you just hit was roughly central. If you hit a ball out wide to the left, the smart recovery position is not the center. It's slightly left of center, because that's where the most likely next ball is coming from, given where you just put them. Smart positioning is about probability. After every shot, ask yourself, where is the next ball most likely to come? And recover toward that spot rather than the geometric center of the court. It sounds like a small adjustment. Over a full match, it means the difference between running 5 miles and running 3.5. Same tennis, same shots, dramatically less total distance covered. The other positioning habit that saves enormous energy is recovering sooner. Most players hit a ball and stand and watch it for a half second before starting to recover. In that half second, the opponent has started their swing and the ball is already on its way back. You're starting your recovery late on every single ball. Start it the moment your shot leaves the racket. That one habit alone shortens the distance you have to cover on every subsequent ball by reducing how far behind you are when you start moving. 4. Tension is draining your energy on every single shot. This one is invisible. You can't see it, but you can feel it if you know what to look for. And once you start noticing it, you realize it's been there the entire time. Grip the racket as tight as you currently grip it on a big point. Hold that grip for 30 seconds. Feel your forearm. That's what the muscles of your forearm are doing on every ball when you play under pressure. Now imagine doing that for 2 hours. The forearm fatigue alone from gripping too tightly is significant. Add the shoulders that are slightly raised and tense, the jaw that's clenched during rallies, the back muscles that are held rigid rather than loose and springy, and the total energy cost of unnecessary tension over a full match is massive. Loose muscles move faster, recover faster, and use less energy than tense ones. This is not a philosophy, it's basic physiology. A relaxed forearm hits the ball harder and recovers faster between shots than a tense one. Soft hands generate more racket head speed than a death grip does, and loose shoulders allow the full kinetic chain from hips to racket to work the way it's supposed to, which means less compensating effort from the arm. Between every point, do a quick physical scan. Forearm tight, let it go. Shoulders up near your ears, drop them. Jaw clenched, unclench it. 10 seconds of conscious physical release between every point prevents the tension from accumulating to a level where it starts costing you games. 5. You're not recovering between points, you're just waiting. There's a difference between waiting for the next point and recovering before it. Most players wait. The clock runs and they stand there letting it pass. And then the next point starts, and they're at the same physiological state they were in at the end of the last one. Every second between points is a recovery opportunity. The walk to the baseline is not dead time. It's the window where your heart rate comes down if you walk at the right pace and breathe correctly. Looking at your strings is not a tick. It's a focal anchor that keeps your attention off the score and on something neutral, which keeps the cortisol from spiking. The bounce routine before the serve is not stalling. It's a pacing mechanism that forces a breathing cycle and a mental reset before the next point starts. The players who use every second between points deliberately arrive at each new point measurably fresher than the ones who just stand there. Not because they have better fitness, because they've used the available time to actually recover instead of accidentally staying activated. Build your between-point routine this week. Walk to the baseline at a pace that feels slow. Take one deliberate full breath. Slow exhale. Look at your strings. Reset. That's enough. 30 seconds done deliberately produces more recovery than 2 minutes done accidentally. Use the time. Every point. 5 things standing between you and lasting the whole match. Wasting energy between points by staying tense and activated. Breathing randomly instead of exhaling at contact on every shot. Running more than necessary because your recovery positioning is always slightly wrong. Gripping and tensing your way through shots when looseness would serve you better. And waiting between points instead of actively recovering during every second available. None of this requires more fitness. All of it requires more awareness. Take one of these into your next match and notice what changes by the 3rd set. Drop a comment telling me which one you're most guilty of. I want to know. Subscribe for more of this. Blue Tennis Dude. See you in the next one.